It goes from Z to O, and as it starts to head back to the Z, I abruptly force the planchette to a stop and tell Sarah, who was leading the session, I was just lending my energy and putting my fingers on the planchette, offering questions to her that she would officially ask, etc. Sarah, we need to say goodbye. We did. Sarah ended the session. However, Sarah told me that as soon as I said we needed to say goodbye, she felt the darkest energy she had ever felt wash over her entire body, and for a split second, all she could see was black. As we were packing it away, Sarah went to check her phone. It was dead. She told me it had been fully charged when we had left to go to the quad with Anne just an hour earlier. Then we went back to the dorm, and Anne told us the TV messed up while we were out there, and all the colors only showed red. I don't know if these details are related or just a line of coincidences, but Sarah and I talked about what we experienced and agreed it must have been the Ouija Board Demon. She's doing a lot better now, but for a while I think that dark energy stayed with her. She got depressed, almost failed out of college the 2 semesters following the event. Neither of us have ever used a spirit board again. Some of the friends we tell don't believe us. I know Anne didn't, but I swear this all was very real and very scary. We've heard in a lot of stories about, and it happens a lot with like ghost hunting and stuff like that, where like the batteries drain, and that almost lends to like an energy, right? Like to some kind of, we mentioned like energy vampirism and shit like that in the previous episode, but I think, because that seems like it could almost be pointing in a direction, right?
Well, if say your phone battery spontaneously just drained,
yeah,
because of some force that's purely, a magnetic force of something that maybe scientists understand that we don't.
Yeah.
And you're using a Ouija board, that's going to feel like a demon's there if you don't understand. It could be a rational explanation.
Yeah.
But when you're doing things like this, you're going to make connections. And if your phone drains for no real reason,
it was the demon.
Yeah. And so that's kind of natural way of identifying patterns, I think, for humans, which is also why it's so hard in what we're talking about all the time.
Yeah.
Because patterns aren't necessarily a real thing. And it's a basic function of our brain to help us survive.
Yeah.
But then do we make these patterns into a Zozo, a Ouija board demon that just sprung out of Parker Brothers or something like that? You know what I mean?
You're talking like there's a level of science to it with like the draining batteries and stuff, right? Like there has to be something scientific going on that would drain a battery. But we've also kind of talked about the idea of there's such a separation, like there's a line of separation between paranormal researchers and the scientific community, right?
Yeah, the scientific community is
wrong 100%.
Does actual science, and the paranormal that's researchers just make shit up. I am wrong. Ghosts are real.
Yeah, that's your line of reasoning, sure. But what a shocker. But what I've mentioned in the past is that it shouldn't be one or the other, but I think the two kind of go hand in hand to an extent. And a story like this, where you have a paranormal experience, you have these 2 girls on a Ouija board and having a crazy experience where one of them kind of like just sees black for a while or whatever, then her phone battery's dead. Like, so you have a paranormal experience, you have a phone battery that's dying. Like, these are 2 separate things. One scientific, one paranormal. Why can't we say that it's both? That there should be, again, hand in hand, that if both of those sides came together to figure it out, we'd have a better chance of actually cracking what this stuff is.
I think it could be made scientific, but it would have to be something where you could produce the same results with the same setting and stimuli or experiment.
But if you couldn't, wouldn't that mean that there was a level of chaos to it? That it wasn't something you could just fit in a box?
It could be random then. To make it scientific, you have to be able to set things up a certain way based on probably, I guess, a hypothesis. And then you have to prove it. And then other people have to be able to set up things the same way. So they could set up in a paranormal setting something to figure out why the battery drained.
Yeah.
And something to figure out why this person got this feeling of darkness. Now, where we cannot figure out the darkness part yet scientifically, but at some point we will be able to. So theoretically, we can prove that paranormal is real with science. We don't have the tools for that just yet.
My brain just wants to grasp. It wants to be like, what is this? Why is this causing this to happen?
Right. We're also talking about a guy who has a blog that he says he does research on Ouija board experiences or Ouija board demon named Zozo, which you can't really experiment with. You know, you can do research, but there's really it's not
finite.
It's not a scientific endeavor at this point.
Yeah, according to Christian, you heard it here first. Christian doesn't believe in this man's research.
Well, it's just not.
Also, that was a Reddit story.
Yeah,
so,
it's not scientific research. I mean, it's just the research.
That kind of leads us into something that we briefly touched on in part 1, but this was a comment I found on Reddit, one of these Reddit posts about Zozo, and it's from Neurotic Deductions, and it's the portal theory that we kind of talked about. Okay. It says, well, some of what others have said about demons or Pazuzu have been cited. From what I can tell, Zozo isn't really a name or particularly entity at all, but a method for whatever spirit you're communicating with to gain access to your home or yourself. Going back and forth in this way on the board, figure 8s, counterclockwise, is said to be a method to open a portal of sorts. This has happened to quite a few people on Ouija boards dating back many years, and is commonly followed by some sort of paranormal phenomenon if the conversation isn't quickly closed out. Some say it's just a singular event if the communication is brief, while some who aren't as quick to end the interaction have continuous issues in the home until it's been cleansed. Others, rarely, have claimed symptoms of possession or haunting that follow them even once they've left the premises or discarded the board. So that portal theory pops back up, which I like that theory. That's an interesting one.
It makes a lot of sense with the whole rituals.
Yeah, like numerology and all kinds of weird stuff, man. There's a lot of stuff that we don't quite comprehend, but it kind of, there's like some evidence lingering in the background of it, so we're like, that might be real.
I mean, rituals are real. Do they do anything? Maybe not. I mean, we have rituals for everything. We go to church, there's rituals. We, inaugurate a president, there's rituals. He comes out. We go to the
grocery store, there's rituals.
Yeah, it's.
We sacrifice a goat, there's rituals. Ugh.
I haven't done that lately. Oh,
well, someone has to keep this podcast afloat, Christian.
That explains a lot, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody I need a goat.
Meh. Anyway, yeah, so I thought that was an interesting addition. Let's get into another, while we're on the Reddit train, all aboard, let's get into another one. This was, unfortunately, the username has been deleted, which seems to be a common trend among people sharing pretty bonkers stories.
Yeah.
And this one is written very poorly, but I'm going to try to hack my way through it if I may. And it starts out with, never mess with that Ouija board, man. So you can kind of grasp where this is going right off the bat.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone tells you or what you think, but don't mess with it. Heard too many bad things with that thing. I remember when I was a kid, me and my neighbor was playing with that thing, and man, mad shit happened afterwards. I'm literally getting chills thinking about it. Her and her family had something haunting them, but I don't think it was harmless. It had a sense of humor, actually. She used to collect keychains, and one was of Austin Powers, where you press buttons, and it says some of his famous lines, and one day, she was in the kitchen, and it went on by itself and said, "Yeah, baby." Maybe it was a glitch, but they also had things go missing and reappear all the time. Everyone in the house would always see a black figure all over the house and outside, to the point they all came to my house one night to sleep over because they were terrified. They had 2 German shepherds that would bark nonstop and growl in certain places of the house. My nanny at the time brought a friend over, and we went to my neighbor's house for lunch, and this lady got so serious and asked us if there was a Ouija board in the house. My friend said yes, we do have one, and the lady just said to get rid of it and never play with that thing again. We were all confused and tried to ask questions, and she just said I'd rather not get into it. Kind of awkward, but afterwards I asked my nanny how she knew about the board game, and she said her friend is sensitive spirits, and I guess she didn't want to say anything to make herself look crazy, but she really wanted to send that message to the family. She said her friend doesn't like to talk about it. It's something that she would rather keep in the back of her head, but that day I guess she really felt some type of way about my friend's house, because you can tell she felt uncomfortable. She was really nice though. We just continued with our lunch. Eventually, the event stopped. Not sure what they did to the board game, but I know for sure you can't burn it. If I were you...